Good morrow, scholars. Welcome back to Asylum. My eyes. Hmm. Let me move back. Okay, that should be fine. Now, if you remember last thought, we ended with the question, how do you kill a Hydra? And then answer, you strike at its heart. Naturally, I brought up Spider-Man. If you guys remember the Tobey Maguire movies, I liked those a lot. I know a lot of people complained about them, especially the third one, but a lot of it was really just cosmetic problems. Well, not even cosmetically speaking. It's because it wasn't what they wanted that made it bad, you know? Anyway, let's not get into that. We are in chapter 15, page 129. Right. What kind of sick joke was this? Dan looked at Felix, who hadn't turned around or moved a muscle. Are you sure you didn't see who left this? Dan said. I'm sure. It's not signed? No, it's not signed. Dan flashed the card at Felix, but not long enough for him to be able to read it. Strange. Do you recognize the handwriting? Felix continued, browsing his current webpage, the wheel on his mouse clicking softly as he spun it. No, it's calligraphy or something. Nobody writes like this anymore. Calligraphers who? Do you know any calligraphers? Dan snapped. At last, Felix turned around. He thought for a few seconds and then said calmly, Not at this program, no. I do have a friend back at school, though, who's pretty good at it. That doesn't help me. Sighing, Dan dropped into his chair and swiveled it around. Sorry. Bad day. I understand, and I hope you find your mystery pen pal. Felix sounds like he's going to turn into the Riddler. Do you get that feeling? I get that feeling. I love the Riddler, though, especially in Gotham. Do you guys watch Gotham? What do you guys think of the Mad Hatter if you do? I like him a lot. Anyway, sinking deeper into his chair, Dan flipped the card over and over again, studying the handwriting, trying to find some clue in the words. Hydra. There were at least 50 kids in Professor Douglas's class who would have heard the clever nickname he had given the three of them yesterday. Dan had no way of pinning down the identity of the writer. What if Joe, the hall monitor, who had caught them in the old wing, had placed the card on his desk? It actually made a weird kind of sense. Joe would want to keep them from snooping around again after hours, and the note was just creepy and threatening enough to make Dan think twice about a repeat of last night. I would do this, but I'm a terrible person. Anyway. What was it? Joe would also, as a hall monitor, have a master key to the rooms, which fit because Dan was positive he had locked the door that morning. The knot in Dan's stomach loosened. Thinking of Joe as the author of the note made the whole thing feel explicable at the very least, and perhaps even a little bit funny. Haha, Joe, you got me good. Oh dear. But Dan wasn't entirely convinced. He'd decided he'd bring the card to dinner. If Jordan and Abby received notes too, they might be able to figure it out together. Until then, Dan knew he definitely wouldn't be able to do any real studying. And, if anything, the card only strengthened his determination to meet Sal Weathers. There wasn't enough time left in lunch break to make it to town and back, so he decided to skip his next class. He threw his sweatshirt on again and pulled up Sal's address on his phone, grabbed his backpack, and then sped out the door. It felt good to get out of the dorm. Things had a way of feeling so heavy there. The weather seemed to be on his wavelength, overcast and chilly, despite the fact that it was June. It looked like it might rain. It's not here, though. So sad. That hurt my eyes. Oh, it turns out I have astigmatism. I had no idea. Just found out on Thursday. It looked like it might rain. Dan walked briskly, keeping his head down and following the path that led from the dorms back to the academic side and beyond. The paved path dipped, taking a wide curve down a hill. For all the hustle and bustle on campus, Camford always felt rather small and quiet. Today the streets were practically empty. A lone pickup truck sped by as Dan made it down to the bottom of the hill. 3 blocks, one donut shop, and a car garage later, Dan was at his destination. He snuggled down deeper into his sweatshirt, staring up at the drive to a brick dormer house set back from the road. Pausing, he glanced over his shoulder, his eyes scanning above the tree line. From here, you could just make out the top of the old church steeple, and beyond that, Welford Commons and Brookline's roof. I don't know why I said it like that. He fished out a notebook and pen from his backpack, wondering how best to introduce himself. A simple wicker cross hung on the window of the front door. Dan knocked, suddenly hoarse with nerves, already thinking it had been a mistake to come. Sure, Sal sounded talkative on his website, but would he be so effusive in person? Sorry. Dan would have to express his own interest in a way that would get him the information he needed. He knocked again with more conviction. Finally, he heard a shuffling from inside. Why did I stress the word like that? Anyway, a spotted, draggy face appeared in the window behind the cross, and a second later the door flew open. The scent of cinnamon candles rushed out to meet him. That sounds delightful. What was I doing? What are you selling? Selling? Oh, no, nothing. I'm from the college, Dan explained. He gestured clumsily over his shoulder to the hill. I was going to email you, but I'm sorry. I know this is sort of strange, but I found your webpage, the one about Brookline. I'm doing a project on it, and you seem like the local expert. So, Sal stared at him, clearly trying to decide if he was crazy, or joking, or both. That'd be me. Come in, he finally muttered. Dang it! I need new glasses. Can't see for the life of me. Turtles. You gotta do this. Anyway. Disappearing into a dark mudroom. I don't know what that means. A light came on, showing a shoe rack filled with almost exclusively with work boots and lady slippers. So you found my little report on the internet, huh? Good. That's good. More people ought to know. But I gotta tell you, kid, I don't much like talking about it. None of us do. I said my piece for that page on the internet. Now the only time I want to talk about it is to get the heck out of a place. Get the heck of a place, there we go, torn down. Of course, some beep that the college won't stand for it says it's historical. I think you mean Professor Reyes, Dan said pointedly. She's actually planning to run a seminar in the dorm, and then a dorm? So they're housing you kids in it now, are they? That's a real laugh. Sal shuffled into the kitchen, and Dan followed. He had a feeling he would be leaving with a blank notebook. Oh dear. This is my wife, Sal was saying. Don't mind us, honey. This young man's from the college, but he's not staying very long. The kitchen was cramped, furnished with cheap laminate cabinets and mauve tiles. Dan ducked his head shyly. Hello, and greeted Sal's wife. She was gaunt, sunken, but Dan saw shadows of a pretty woman gone old and frail. Her thick hair was tied into a bun at her nape, and a heavy fringe of bangs covered her forehead. She seemed to be staring at nothing, her hands propped lightly on the island countertop in the middle of the room. I don't know why I said it like that. Sal spluttered around the island until he found a coffee mug. He checked its contents and then took a big sip. When he glanced back up and saw Dan still standing there, a look of resignation crossed his face. He shuffled over until he was almost right in Dan's face and said in a voice barely above a whisper, "All right, kid, you get one question. What did you want to know so bad?" Dan hardly knew where to start. He tried to collect his thoughts into a single question. Finally, hoping that this one question would lead to many answers, oh, he said, I just wanted to know more about Dennis Heinlein. I'm not even sure I'm saying that correctly. Instantly, he knew he'd said something wrong. Sal flinched, and behind him his wife stopped staring at whatever was so interesting over Dan's shoulder and looked right in his eyes. Dan blundered on, well, I was curious about the connection between the last warden and Dennis Heinlein, the sculptor. What did you say your name was? Sal interrupted, slamming his mug down on the island. I didn't. Oh no. Dan stammered, taking a step back. It's Dan. Dan Crawford. It was like a bomb had gone off. Suddenly, Sal's wife was screaming, throwing herself down on the island countertop, swinging her arms and sending Sal's mug and a stack of dishes crashing to the floor. Dan looked back, only to have Sal descend on him, his craggy old face red with blotches. I'm confused. What the hell kind of sick joke are you trying to pull? My wife is ill and you come in here like that? You darn. College kids, always so smart, so clever, huh? Not so clever today. Get out! Get out! Sorry. Again, I'm not great at emoting. I'm not even sure that's the proper word. My back hurts. He had hardly bothered to turn, backing out as fast as he could without getting tangled up in the shoe rack and the door. The woman's shrieking followed him onto the stoop. Then Sal was at the door still shouting, Get the hell out, as if Dan wasn't trying to do exactly that. He ran until he reached the hill and the path winding back up to the college. What had just happened? What had he said? How could Dennis Heinlein be such a sore subject when Sal himself had written about the guy? When Dan reached his room, Felix was, oh no. When Dan reached his room, Felix was gone. A note on his dry erase board simply read, Departed for Gymnasium, 1600. Dan rolled his eyes, thinking, just another Felix work, trademark. He shrugged off his backpack and flung himself down his bed, or on his bed. Miserable, he rolled onto his back and shoved the pillow over his face. Class skipped, and for what? He was no closer to figuring out the link between the warden, the sculptor, Brookline, and himself than he had been at the start of the day. And now he had the horrified face of Sal's wife to add to the list of things haunting him, and her screams. Dan groaned into the pillow. He had to let it go, or he'd drive himself crazy over nothing. Sal was just a nutty old bat who hated the college and everything associated with Brookline. He probably grew up in Kemper, presenting the kids who could afford a higher education. Wasn't there even a label for that? The townies and the gownies? I don't know. It wasn't his fault. Outside it had started raining. That would make getting to dinner a little less pleasant. But after the afternoon he just had, Dan was eager for some friendly company. And it was already 5 minutes till 5, so there'd soon be people in the dining hall. He snatched up the Hydra note and headed downstairs. As he passed the hallway leading down to the old wing, he felt a sudden temptation to go there and hide, but he pressed on to the main. We've got another picture. Spooky. If I saw that, I would find a window and just jump out of the building. Oh, that's a decent chapter for once. How long is this one? Okay, we'll probably read through. Well, we'll see where this one ends, I guess. Doors, shaking off the fear that was creeping down his back. Dan pulled up the hood of his sweatshirt and ran through the downpour to the commons. He shook himself off when he reached the entrance. Then he followed the line of students forming inside the cafeteria. Mac and cheese night. Could be worse. Dan grabbed a tray, eyes roaming over half-familiar faces as he looked for his friends. He saw Yi come in and wave to a few guys on the other side of the room before getting in line right behind him. How's it going? He, I'm not even sure I'm pronouncing that correctly, asked, drumming his fingers on his pastel blue tray. You know, the usual studying, classes, threatening notes, psychos, Yourself? Half of that was in his head, not memory. So amazing. He pulled out a slip of paper out of his cargo pants and handed it to Dan. Oh, geez. Did he get a strange note too? But when he unfolded it, Dan saw it was only a printed out dating profile for someone with the screen name, Chloe_Chloe13. She liked skiing and I'm guessing something in French. Emily? What? French? I'm studying abroad on a scholarship in the fall. Conservatory in Paris. Dan handed the paper back and watched E smiling dreamily down at it. Just a few more months and I'll be swimming in hot foreign women. Dan coughed. Yeah, I could have phrased that better. He put Chloe_Chloe13 back in his pocket. The line moved forward. How's things on the Abbey front? Hmm? They sidled up to the buffet. Dan slopped macaroni onto his one plate. How did you... Jordan mentioned a date or something. How'd it go? Surprisingly, he bypassed the mac and cheese and went for the vegan offering. Something with lentils and unidentifiable chunks of vegetable matter. Things with Abby are good, Dan managed to croak. Honestly, he didn't know what to think, considering how Abby had been this morning. And I guess it was a date. We just got dinner at Brewster's, hung out. It was a nice time. Dan dumped the big metal ladle into the macaroni again, preparing to take another serving. What? Language. You get any? What? What? Dan dropped the spoon and clattered against the edge of the buffet. He caught it, but not before splattering himself with globs of hot cheese product. Cheese, that's hot. He half-elbowed and bumped the spoon back into the tray and tried to brush the neon orange cheese off his arm. He chuckled, moving away from the line. I'll take that as a no. Swearing, Dan grabbed a dinner roll from a pile and then walked over to the usual table. He dropped into the chair nearest the window, brooding over his steaming plate of food. His time with Abby last night felt private, not something to be discussed casually over the dinner line. Or maybe it was just that he didn't know how things stood. He didn't want to jinx them by bragging. He rubbed at the splotchy red marks on his skin. They were still smarting. Iggy was freaking out when I put him in the tub earlier, so I have a bunch of new scratches all over, and I'm itchy, so yeah. I'm probably going to die of some illness. Hey, it was Abby. Her hair was in a damp tangle, and her eyes were red. She set her tray on the table and sat down slowly as if moving through water. I know that feeling. Hey, Dan said, forgetting his burn. Can I sit? I mean, I am sitting already, but she looked down into her suit side. Do you mind? No, by all means, Dan said. I was hoping you'd turn up. Well, at least he didn't ruin this. Yeah? Smiling, Abby put her elbows up at the table. Don't do that. Thanks. I was pretty horrible at breakfast. But I have a good excuse, I promise. I wouldn't just be like that. It's okay if you were, he replied. We all have rotten days. He nodded to the window behind them, where the rain fell on noisy sheets against the glass. See, the weather's feeling like that too. No, I like that. I like the rain. It's relaxing. Refreshing. Darn you, son. Sound like my dad. Jeez. I have no self-confidence. Where was I? She gazed out the window. Puddles were forming in low dips of the grass and along the pathways, and the mist was swirling so that the rain and fog couldn't be teased apart. I needed a bit of rain. Dan smiled. Already she was making him feel better. He decided he'd wait for Jordan to get there before mentioning the note, so he and Abby more or less ate in comfortable silence until Jordan stumbled into the dining hall. After a quick breeze through the food line, he sat down with just a cup of piping hot coffee and a slice of Boston cream pie. He didn't even say hello. Rain and the steam from the coffee fogged his glasses. But Dan couldn't wait any longer. I got a note, he blurted, startling Abby and Jordan. He reached into his back pocket and took out the card, dropping it onto the table between them. Jordan picked it up. How do you kill a Hydra? What the heck? Turn it over. Jordan read the back, his face a mixture of confusion and distaste. What is this? Where did it come from? Jordan pushed the card away with a grimace, and Abby grabbed it. It was on my desk when I got back from class. Felix didn't see who left it, but someone managed to get into the room, even though I'm sure I locked the door. You guys didn't get anything like this? They both shook their heads. Dan was dismayed. He hadn't realized how much he was counting on this being a bad joke. Rubbing his temples, he said, I think it could be from Joe. I don't know who else would leave something like this, or even be able to get into the room, but I was sure he'd have left them for you guys too. Dan pushed his macaroni into a little hill. I don't like feeling singled out. Is this anybody, though? So what are you going to do? Abby asked, giving the card back to him. Dan shrugged. He knew it would be impossible to explain to anyone else why this bothered him so much. He wasn't even sure he fully understood it himself. Just ignore it, Jordan said. Just trying to rile you up, that's all. That's what bullies do. Trust me, I know. It's better if you let it slide off your back. Okay. Where was it? They were silent for a moment, then Abby said, There's something else. You're not. It's important and all, but I wanted to tell you both something too. It's what I was going to bring up at breakfast before I got so, well, mad. She paused. I'm not quite sure how to say this, she said, twisting her hands around each other. So I'll just go for simple. Simple is probably best, if anything about this is simple. As she talked, Dan noticed her entire demeanor changed. Her shoulders sagged, and the light went up of her eyes. Uh-oh. She took a deep breath. My aunt. My father's sister. She was a patient here. There was a silence. Dan and Jordan looked at each other. How do you know? Dan asked. Here, look what I found last night. Abby pulled an index card out of her raincoat. It was from the card catalog in the warden's office, and it looked just like the one for Asylum. So Abby had taken something too. Hands shaking, Abby turned the card around so that both Jordan and Dan could read it. There were just 4 lines, typed. Valdez, Lucy Abigail, born 7/15/1960, DOA 2/12/1968, recovered, no. Ugh. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, let's see how long chapter 17 is, and that'll give us a good idea. Ooh, that's spooky. Blech. Why not? We'll go ahead and read chapter 16, because 17 looks to be a long chapter. Chapter 16, page 142. For a moment, Dan didn't understand. The words didn't make any sense. Then they slowly came into focus. Lucy Abigail Valdez. Abby Valdez. That's a common enough last name, Dan said, stammering a little. Right? He looked up into Abby's wide eyes. Right? She shook her head, pressing her lips tightly together. That's my aunt. Aunt Lucy. I was named after her. Come on, Abby, Jordan said. That's not your aunt. That's just not possible. Dan sat back, silent, waiting for a reasonable explanation, if one existed. Dan sat back, sorry, I just read that. I'm afraid it is possible. The gust of wind hit the windows, rattling the glass. The rain slapped down on the glass like a shower of pebbles. Abby looked out the window and then back again. She was clearly trying to keep from crying. My grandparents were really strict on my pops when he was growing up. His sister Lucy never got along with them. From the time she was a little girl. She never listened. She talked back, screamed, break things, stuff like that. One day there was a huge fight. My pops doesn't know what it was about. He was only 5, but he remembers that Lucy ran out the door and slammed it behind her. The night he woke up from a nightmare and Lucy wasn't in her bed. 7 years old and she was gone. Just gone. My grandparents acted like everything was normal. And when my pops would ask, they'd get really angry and tell him he wasn't allowed to say her name anymore. Dan was at a loss. The story lined up, but what were the odds? Maybe it's just a coincidence. The name, he said, not really believing it himself. He just wanted so badly for it to be true. A coincidence is you and me both picking pie for dessert, Jordan said. He gestured the patient card with his cup. What Abby is suggesting is flat out strange. What, you don't believe me? Abby said. Her voice sounded like she was kidding at first, waiting for Jordan to contradict her, but he didn't. That's it, isn't it? You don't believe me. Oh dear. Can you really blame me? I mean, what are the chances you just randomly wind up here for the summer at a place where your aunt used to be a mental patient? Jordan sat back, arms crossed. I think there's something you're not telling us, or you're just not telling us the truth. Dan could see Abby's shoulders beginning to shake as she tried and failed to control her breathing. It was too late to intervene, and he couldn't think of a dang thing to contribute anyway. Jordan had a point about how impossible the coincidence was, but Abby wasn't the sort to mess with them for kicks, or was she? Okay, we know for a fact already, even though it hasn't been confirmed, it might as well have been. Dan has a connection to Brookline. Now it seems Abby does. So Jordan definitely will. And something is brought the three of them together in this place for some nefarious purpose. Anyway. A little voice whispered in his mind. Or was she? How well did he really know her, after all? Her mood in the last 24 hours had certainly been unpredictable. He stopped himself. She wouldn't make a joke out of something like this. She just wouldn't. Fine, Abby said finally, composing himself. I wasn't going to say anything, but I guess we're a little past this now. Then shared a nervous glance with Jordan. Abby picked up her spoon and dragged it softly across her bowl as she began to speak. When I was little, I used to go through my mom's clothes looking for hats and skirts and scarves and stuff to play dress up. She and my pops shared drawers, or dressers, there we go. Then one time I found this box. She inhaled deeply and pressed on. I didn't know what it was, but when I opened it, I saw a bunch of papers. I started reading them. They were all letters from my grandpa. He was already dead by then, and my pops never talked about it, except to say what a mean man he'd been. But these letters, Grandpa was just apologizing. He kept saying he was sorry for sending his little Lucy away to that place. And let me guess, that place was Brookline? Jordan said coldly. He obviously still wasn't convinced. It had to be, Abby replied quickly. There was stuff about how she was dangerous, how he had sent her away for her own good. But there was more. What if she's the little girl? I don't think she would be, but it makes sense when you think about it. Anyway. What was I getting? Oh, good. And there was more. Grandpa kept talking about making a trip to New Hampshire. He never mentioned Brookline by name, but I can see how you would put two and two together, Dan finished, trying to show at least a little support. She nodded. It all adds up. I mean, listen, I didn't think it was possible either. Part of me always assumed I was imagining it, or had completely read them wrong. After that first time, my boss found out I read the letters and moved them on. But I never forgot, and when I got the letter about this program, well, I thought the fact that it was in New Hampshire was a sign. A sign of how ridiculous the story is, Jordan protested. Sinking down lower in his seat. I mean, what? You just thought you'd come, work on your art skills, and find your long-lost aunt at the same time? Kill two birds with one stone? Abby looked horrified. Jordan, Dan warned. But Jordan barreled right on ahead, gesturing first to Dan and then to Abby. Let me guess, you guys made this up together, thought you'd have a harmless laugh at my expense? Well, haha, very funny. It's not working, okay? I'm not that gullible. Jordan, why would I make something like this up? It's too sick. Jordan shrugged. Who knows? Attention? Fun? Take your pick. Geez. You're such a jerk sometimes. That's not what she said, but I'm sticking with it. She clenched her jaw and looked at Jordan as if she'd never really seen him before. Let's all calm down and, oh no. Think for a minute, Dan said, hating to see the anger between them. First of all, Jordan, I have to ask, do you really think I wrote this note myself for attention? Jordan sighed. I don't know anymore, man. You, Abby, I don't know what's going on. I feel like you're trying to make me look stupid, like the two of you are ganging up on me. Okay, and Abby, do you think there's any chance this could be a different Lucy Valdez? He asked. No, she replied firmly. I know it's her, and I bet there's more evidence somewhere in the old league about what they did to her. Jordan snorted. Suddenly, Abby slammed her fist down on the table. Both boys jumped in their seats. Dan's plate rattled, his hill of macaroni crumbling. What would it take for you to trust me? Jordan didn't say anything. I trust you. Dan said in a placating murmur. Peter, the clerk over here believes you. In other news, rain is wet. What? Anyway, Jordan said, color me Sir freaking prized. Taking his coffee and pie, he left without another word. The rain and sounds of the dining hall rose up to fill the silence left by Jordan's angry departure. Are you all right? Dan asked. Would you be? No. Oh, I guess not. Then there's your answer. She took a spoonful of her minestrone. It's cold. Dan scrambled for something helpful to say. All he could think about was how, if Abby could keep such a big secret so well, there might be any number of things she still hadn't shared. Not that he was any better. You know what? About Jordan? I think he's still upset about the date thing. He's probably worrying that we can't be a duo and a trio at the same time. You know? What? A duo? Abby frowned, staring off into the middle distance. Oh, right. Yeah, maybe. Maybe that's it. Dan didn't want to take her responses personally as he did, given the fight she just had with Jordan. But she really turned cold there for a moment at the word date. Everything seemed to be slipping out of control. His new best friends were quickly withdrawing from him and from each other. He had to find answers and hold the group together, or they'd be total strangers again. Then the Hydra really would be dead. Don't worry, we'll figure this whole thing out, he said. I know I will, Abby said coldly. I'm going back into that office one way or another. And another picture. Okay, that chapter was a lot longer than it should have been. Oops. But if I read that one and then the next one, it probably would have been closer to 42 minutes. My head hurts. I haven't had any water all morning, so I'm going to go get some. And then get Diggy out of the tub. If you have any suggestions for Halloween costumes, let me know down in the comments. If you have any ideas for designs for my pumpkins over there, be sure to let me know. If you have any suggestions for books you'd like to have read, let me know. I'm going to look for all the Halloween spin-off novels, see if I can't find those. I want to find the novelization. I found it online, but the cheapest is still over $100, so I might buy it next paycheck, and then if it gets here in time, and I have the day off, we could do like this all-day live stream type of thing. Wouldn't that be fun? Anyway, until next time, goodbye everybody. Why did I throw my book on the floor? I feel like I'm forgetting something. I need some pain medicine.